Hey, so welcome everyone. My name is German, as Patrick already spoiled. I'm from Germany, part of the product team here at Make, and really excited for that webinar. And equally excited to have Patrick with me, one of the co-founders of Make. So, Patrick, please.
Uh, you also spoiled something. And so, hello, welcome everyone. I'm Patrick. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO at Make, and I'm really looking forward to show you what we've been up to for the last few months. So let's go into
Hi.
it.
Great. So, perhaps setting the scene a bit, right? What are we here for today? We wanted to talk about how to scale your automation setup. Um, Also, we want to talk about one of the biggest challenges we've seen our users encounter, why we think that a visual approach can help with that, and then finally, we want to show, as Patrick said, the new addition to our product portfolio that we think can help you deal with that exact challenge. And to start with, as I have Patrick here, over the last more than 10 years, you've seen, right, how the no-code, low-code space evolved, like how people have taken it to do incredible things with it. And perhaps you can reflect a bit on that, how that evolved, and also what you've seen turned out to be the biggest challenge when it comes to truly scaling such a setup.
Yeah, and it's almost incredible to think it's been more than 10 years, but it's how it is. And I would start probably with taking you back to 2012, where a lot of things, a lot of ideation started. Originally back then called as Integramat, some of you might remember. And at that time, remember like APIs, which stands for Application Programmable Interfaces, were something like MCP in today's world. New ways of integrating with systems and services were showing up almost every single day. And suddenly there were so many systems to connect, like databases and documents and spreadsheets, file storages, accounting tools, you name it. And no code made it incredibly simple to link all these systems together. It was a moment when everyday people, also called citizens developers, could turn their, like German, right?
Mhm.
could turn their ideas into working solutions without having to write a single line of code. And in recent years, advances in AI have made this even more powerful. We're seeing trends like vibe coding, where you just describe what you want and the tool builds it for you. And we're also seeing AI agents that can automate tasks end to end, right? So the possibilities feels just limitless. But with all this agility and the speed comes a new challenge. And I guess you can guess it, it's a complexity. Because the more ideas we bring to life, the more systems we connect, the harder it gets to really see what's happening behind the scenes. So it's no longer just a few modules connected together. Nowadays, our landscape consists of dozens of scenarios and agents, databases, interfaces, and numerous other assets. Right, German?
Yeah, exactly. And just to re-emphasize, right? This complexity consists in like the complexity of the landscape. There's more than just the scenarios. There's all the systems around, the objects in these systems, like the databases and forms, as Patrick said. And now we're basically adding, as you also mentioned, AI agents into the mix, right? So we're not thinking about these agents as replacing the existing automations, but more like complementing. So they will live side by side, for sure, adding to that complexity. And ultimately, I mean, the risk of that like complex landscape is that it could become something like a black box. That's a term that some of our users used, right? So it's getting really hard to understand if you're talking about like 50 scenarios plus and all the apps around. And this has a very tangible effect. I just listed some of the things we've heard from users and encountered together with users. One of the aspects is it's getting harder to further scale your landscape because, you want to adjust, improve, add to your landscape, change something, but users told us sometimes they're afraid of doing these changes because they're not sure they might break something, right? Even just changing a simple field in Airtable or changing a webhook response or replacing a Google Sheet, there might be so many direct and indirect dependencies that you're not sure if this change might break something. So it's getting harder. It's also getting harder on an organizational side to scale if there's not a single user anymore, but a team, right? The team needs to collaborate, that needs to share knowledge, hand over, explain stuff. And onboarding a new joiner to a team that already has, I don't know, 50 plus active scenarios, it's getting really challenging. And finally, I mean, there's a need of controlling that landscape, right? You need to be able to answer certain privacy questions, where is certain data flowing, where do we use AI, where's the tool used, can we decommission it, compliance, auditing reasons, you might have to have full control about which data is flowing where. And all these things get more challenging. And they require you to invest time and energy to deal with it, which otherwise you could invest in just building and innovating further. So it will slow you down, or we've observed it can slow you down. We know you can deal with it, right? There's a ton of ways and a ton of things you do. We actually prepared a short poll because we're curious to hear your thoughts on the different things. So perhaps I don't know how to do that, but perhaps we can start that poll somehow. Oh, nice.
Here we
Exactly.
go.
So there's now it's here. So if you if you see it, we'd be really curious to hear which of the things you've already experienced in using, because what we've seen when talking to users is a ton of different approaches, right? There's of course written documentation somewhere in Notion or Confluence, hard to keep it up to date, but AI is keeping nowadays a bit, helping nowadays a bit in keeping it up to date, but you mostly on the scenario level. So people also start to create these nice custom drawings in Miro or Lucidchart or FigJam to explain the bigger picture. There's like tons of naming conventions and best practices that people try to follow by breaking down bigger scenarios, adding nodes to certain modules, all that stuff. I mean, you see it on the screen. And I mean, we know our users are really creative, right? So there's also really cool custom solutions we've seen when talking to them, like syncing all their scenarios into an Airtable or into a ClickUp, or even creating some automated dependency maps themselves, exporting and allowing to search through blueprints, all that it's there. But for sure, that's effort. So I'd be curious. I mean, perhaps we can show the results of the poll already. Oh, yes. Yep. So indeed, like many of you have experience with a lot of these things. And I mean, I'm sure all of you know that it takes effort, right? It takes time to do these things right. So we also thought, what can we do to help you, our users, with that? And we didn't want to give you just another drawing tool, but we tried to find a solution that's following our core principles at Make. And one of these principles is to build visual first solutions. And again, I'm glad to have Patrick here. So you've been pushing for this principle for basically since the start of Integromat. So I'd be curious to hear a bit your perspective on that and why you think it's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, like the visual principle was, or visual first principle was one of the things that was with us since the very beginning. And I think it's actually a good opportunity to explain a bit of our creative process behind tackling the challenge of the complexity for the grid, right? And not only visual is the most convenient and fastest way for us as humans, like to understand the complexity, but also it brings plenty of space for creativity and playfulness and fun. And I hope that you had the feeling when you were using Make that we had this time to spend, we had the opportunity to spend time on those things. So I guess you're familiar with the concept of colored bubbles with connected with the paths. The idea was actually inspired by Prague Metro, the city where Make was founded. And the idea is that the data are kind of like a passengers traveling from station to station. Some enter the train at the first stop, others might join later. Some travel just one stop, others travel multiple stops. But ultimately, the metro lines connect places in our virtual landscape and creating a kind of visual map of how processes work in our business. But as the landscape grows and there are more places to connect the things, and things can actually get a bit out of hands. And that's where we realized, thank you, that's the right one, that we realized that there was actually a new challenge ahead of us. And if you enjoy video games like I do, and many of us, I'm sure as well, chances are you've played the city builders like Transport Tycoon or SimCity or City Skylines, because in those games, you kind of play a role of an architect. You're building a working city in a fun and playful way. And that's when actually things clicked for us. Inspired by these games, we started exploring the idea of zooming out from the scenario view to the landscape view. And so we actually have an early concept from 2019 where we try to imagine a virtual no-code landscape, how it might look like. And so if you've been with Make for a while, I guess you can again recognize the reference. It's the blue color and the logo from our old branding. So this screenshot is super, super old. And so back to the story, like after many iterations and countless of customer interviews and solving many technical challenges that came to us on the journey, we think that we found it. And German, do you think that we should take a look?
Sure, sure. Basically, as Patrick already said, right, we're visual first. So what's a better way of showing that than a demo instead of just talking about it? So let's have an actual look at the grid, right? As also suggested in the chat already. So what you see here is Make, right? I assume everyone is familiar. I think you can see it, Patrick. You see it? Good.
Yes.
So here basically you have like two teams within a Make organization where you have all these scenarios. Nothing too complex, pretty standard implementation as you can find it with many of our customers and users. And like, I don't think I have to explain Make, shall I? Probably not. So I'm going right to the grid. So basically, while you have all these scenarios that, as Patrick said, are the bubbles representing single automations. What we've added recently is the grid. And what the grid is, I'm just going to show it. It's for the first time, you can see the full landscape, right? So it's an auto-generated, auto-updated map of your automation landscape. What you see here is, in this case, the two teams, of course. Within the teams, the different use cases or folders, and within those, and I think that's the crucial aspect, you not only see the make scenarios, so this is a make scenario, but also all the external objects the scenarios connect to that are part of your landscape. So here there's an Airtable. I can open it from here. I can have a look. There's also a Google Sheet that I can open from here, of course. And there is apparently a teleform that's responsible to trigger that scenario. Just to give you an idea, right? So overall, what you see is the whole landscape of the objects your automation landscape consists of that you can navigate and explore. And I promised it would help with a couple of problems that I shared before. So of course, I'm going to explain a bit how it helps with these problems, besides looking nice as we see, and we hope you see as well. So let's get back to the initial problem I was talking about, the complexity and the dependencies and how to do changes without being worried about breaking things. So if we look at this use case, it's a couple of chatbots. Let's open a scenario from here, right? So this is a scenario that logs some requests to a Google Sheet. It's part of a bigger solution. If we look at the solution, there are 10 scenarios. As I said, a couple of chatbots, they all log requests to that Google Sheet so that they can be rated and we can evaluate how good our chatbots are and so on. Problem is, I mean, at some point you reach a scale where you need to replace the Google Sheet by something else, some other backend, right? So replacing it in that single scenario is easy, right? I just go in, I replace the module, we're done. But usually we're not done because then the rest breaks because for sure the Google Sheet is used elsewhere. So I would have to go through all the scenarios, figure out where is the Google Sheet module, is it the same Google Sheet, and adjust all of them. With the grid, it's simpler to figure that out, right? So I get back to the grid. In this case, I zoom out and have an exact look at that one scenario I'm starting from. And I see, of course, the webhook it's triggered from, of course, all the scenarios that actually trigger that webhook, and I see the Google Sheet. And with the Google Sheet, all the scenarios that interact with that Google Sheet. Oh, let me perhaps, I don't know how well that is. Let me optimize for sharing video. That sometimes has an effect. So stuff looks more pretty on your side. I can see it quite well, but let's see. So,
Kevin, I think that maybe we can switch back. I think it's super blurry, at least for me now, for some
oh, it's
reason.
blurry. Okay,
Yeah,
then
I
let
think it
me,
looked better before.
oh shit. So
Now it's much better. All good.
this zoom setting doesn't help much. It's called optimize for video sharing. Okay, nevertheless, so now you see it good. So with that, you see all the scenarios you would have to touch in order to not break things if you want to get rid of that Google Sheet. And of course, this holds true not only for these traditional automations, but also for AI-powered automations, I would say. So here we have an AI assistant. I mean, the same way as you saw the rest, you can check out the AI assistant and you can see which other scenarios rely on it. And equally, if you're using our newest edition, Make AI Agents, you can also see which scenarios leverage the agent and which other scenarios are available as tools for that agent. So overall, dependencies you don't have to worry about anymore. And also not about like changes affecting anything. Even if you want to go one level deeper, one level more granular, and you're wondering about the different columns in a Google Sheet, you can see which of the scenarios, in this case, two of them leverage a specific column, which perhaps for Google Sheet is not that much of a problem, but I already mentioned Airtable before, and we've heard many users like struggling with that. If you're having an Airtable like this one here, which I played around with a bit, and you're thinking about getting rid of a column like Jira ticket link or Jira key, and you're not sure, is it used somewhere in my landscape? You can just simply go to grid, go to the church, search, search for, was it Jira ticket link, I think? Exactly, and it will show up here, and it will not only show you the table and where it's used by these four scenarios, but even especially that one field is used by this one scenario. So you know if you want to get rid or change this field, that's the scenario you need to look into, especially as it's active, right? The other ones would be inactive, but this one is active. So just to give you an idea, and this is also available for other apps like Monday and especially our database apps supported. In total, was that for a moment, you'll see that, or you should have seen that like these dependencies are nothing to worry about anymore while building. You don't have to be worried about breaking stuff. As I said before, it's also about the bigger picture, right? And we identified that collaboration can get tough at some point. Even actually just going back to a solution I created myself a while ago can be tricky, but Grid now helps me to orient myself. But especially if I'm working in a team with others, I now have a common visual language that I can use to explain, that I can use to discuss, that I can use to help others to understand. I can just basically guide them across the grid, and wherever needed, I just deep dive into a single scenario, I explain it, and I go back. So overall, it's making collaboration much easier. And not only collaboration, right? You need to maintain. Someone is responsible of maintaining this landscape and keeping it running. And for someone like that, there are a lot of things on the grid that can really truly help them keep it running in an easy way. So if you're thinking about decommissioning a tool, or you know there's an announced downtime of a tool, you can very quickly identify all the scenarios that would be affected by using the filters. Alternatively, if you're using certain scenario properties to distinguish between production and development scenarios, you can also filter that down, for example. Other aspects that allow you to analyze certain pieces of your platform in case you have to is we've added recently dedicated layers that show you operations on top of the grid. So you can easily spot certain outliers that contribute a lot to your overall span. And the same for data transfer, right? So in this case, for example, it's very easy to spot that there's one folder and especially two scenarios that obviously contribute a lot to the overall data transfer in case you're getting into trouble with that. Speaking about troubles, there's another addition to the grid, right? That helps people that are responsible for stuff running smoothly to identify stuff that requires their attention. So on grid, there is now a way to highlight scenarios that get deactivated because of problems, or also those that have unresolved incomplete executions. So you can immediately jump there, check out the unresolved incomplete executions, deal with them, and therefore make sure that no data gets lost somewhere, no execution is stopped, nothing happening in your platform that you're not aware of. So overall, with these additions, we think that Grid is great for helping those that are working on automations and are responsible for maintaining the landscape to make sure everything's running smoothly and they can keep improving despite the complexity. There's also other stakeholders within companies that we've learned benefit from the grid, right? So especially security and privacy teams are very much interested in the grid capabilities because if you care, for example, about PII data or like sensitive data, with the grid, you understand how the data is flowing, right? So you understand which scenarios access, for example, here, the Salesforce contact data. And then you can make sure you follow along the chain of your scenarios to figure out where the data is flowing. Similarly, if you want to understand, I mean, we've seen that before, right? What are scenarios that leverage AI capabilities? I can also quickly identify them. So finally, also those that are responsible for the tool, like senior IT leaders. With that, they get a certain level of peace of mind, right? They have full control, they have full observability. They know that at any time, someone can come in, they can answer all crucial questions, and overall their teams can keep building, can keep improving the architecture, and overall can keep scaling despite the inherent complexity of a landscape that's there. So that's the short or not so short demo of the grid. My only ask to you is please try it out, right? It's available on every paid plan and share your thoughts with us, right? That's what this button is for. Please, like we're curious to hear your thoughts and we're just getting started here. So your feedback will help us shape this and will help us improve and overall bring you more value with the grid. If you have questions, immediate questions, please use the Q&A. I saw it in the chat, right? So there's a Q&A section in the Zoom. Please use it. We're going to jump to the Q&A in a minute. But before we get there, there's one more thing that I thought we should spend some minutes on, Patrick, right? So as I already said, okay, I mean, As we said, showing is better, visual first. We're not gonna reading it, but we showed it. Um, Before we get there, let's perhaps quickly talk. I mean, already about the future. Already mentioned that for us, this is um, an important first step, but of course, we're not gonna stop there. So, of course, I mean, big disclaimer, the future is uncertain. So we're not talking about promises and features we're gonna bring, but perhaps you can share a bit with us, like your idea of or your vision, how this can evolve.
Yes, and I think that we're actually with this question or with this topic getting slightly into the Q&A because there are only questions in this direction that I had a chance to read while we were talking. So I think that I would stick with to the idea of just sharing a bit of the future where we go where are we going with that. When I try to explain what led us to this direction to introduce the grid to the visual representation of the digital landscape, I made a reference to the games, and I don't think that those games would be complete if they just show you what your landscape look like and you cannot organize your stuff around. So the next step that we definitely are exploring is how can we make it not only read only but also read write, which means how you can not only see what's happening, but you can change things from grid. You can build things from grid to complete this experience, which is basically answering the question. If you are okay, I would probably read the question. It was basically like from Martin Zahuta. Any plans for this tool to be more than just read-only view? So the answer is yes. I don't have any suggestion at the moment. Just curious what could be done with write access to the underlying scenarios. Love your work. Thank you. So thank you for the question. Partially answered, I think. I would maybe just add that in what can be done with the right access. It can start with the small things as activating and deactivating scenarios. It can be things like changing the interfaces in case you're building complex integration with other scenarios around. But ultimately, you want to have an experience where you feel like you zoom in and zoom out, and you are the architect of your virtual city. Anything you would like to add, German, on that?
No, I think you said it perfectly.
Perfect.
There's, I mean, another question going in that direction, which I can answer, right? There's a question by Daniel if there's an option to manually adjust like the look item place on the grid, the location of things on the grid, because otherwise with the auto layout, some things look really messy. I mean, the auto layout was something I added. So sorry, I'm gonna show the answer. So it's currently not possible, but um, with the vision that Patrick shared, we definitely want to get there, right? So to allow you to rearrange the grid how you see it so that it reflects how you truly see your landscape. Yes. Anything to add, Patrick? Or
No, I think that's a great answer. So in that case, I would jump into another one, which is from Daniel Warpechowski. I hope I read it right. Does grid update data in real time? E.g., do I spot uncompleted executions without constant page refreshing? The answer is it's close to real time. It's basically refreshing in a very frequent interval, so the data are as almost in real time as possible. I think that German can provide a bit more details on how this mechanism works.
sure. So while you're on the grid, the data will update currently every 2 minutes, I think, more or less 2 minutes. And if it detects changes of, for example, like new incomplete executions, it will update the visualization without you having to refresh the page. So you can just keep it open and it will show up. There's even a small dashboard mode for that if you want, so that you prevent it from starting the nice idle mode animation. But yes, so no need to manually refresh the page. If you're on the page, these things will show up. There was a similar question in that regard. Yes, it's not immediate, so it's not like within a second, but while you're on the grid, it will update very frequently without you having to do anything manually.
Yeah. And what we can add is that definitely as we move forward, we will get this as close as possible to the real time as we integrate closer with Make, but we are still trying to keep also the platform capable of digesting things from outside of the Make ecosystem. You might have a chance to see like that we are not only displaying scenarios and webhooks and data stores, but we go into the Google Sheets, Airtable, and other assets. And we would love to bring more of the information about those assets that are connecting with your scenarios as well. And that is going to be tricky to do in the real time. So that's the current approach that works for us.
Yes, there were more questions around that, right? Like the real-time topic, but I think we've answered all of them. And as usual, if you encounter any problems with that, just like use the feedback button and we'll get back to you immediately to figure those out. There's another question on, oh, good. That's a good question because otherwise I'm getting in trouble with the team organizing. Will there be any webinar on AI agent soon? Yes, there's actually even a slide here, which I forgot to show. I'm sorry for that, but thanks for reminding me. Yes, there's going to be a webinar on AI agents, and we will also cover how Grid can help in the context. So, looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's one.
You go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, we just take this one from Marcel. It's like the question is, it would be nice to see how a data set flows. Facebook to Airtable, Airtable to CRM, CRM to email funnel. Sometimes we have a main route and backup system in case a trigger does not work. And that's definitely a feedback we heard many times. And it's definitely something we're exploring as well, how to expand the capabilities of seeing the city into how can we really see the data lineage, like how the data flows. So we don't have any specific details on that, but definitely we can confirm it came across our feedback forms many times, and we definitely explore.
Nice. There's two more. I can take them. So one is from Jason Reed. It's thank you for this. I'm fairly new to Make. Do you have other video trainings that will assist with this or other areas of your product? Yes, there's actually a Make Academy that I can highly recommend. You should find it directly from our make.com website, and it has really great content to get you started. Another question by Marcel Reckel. Will it be possible in the future to see live which connections are working right now? Just a fun feature. I think it would be great. I agree, it would be a really cool and fun feature if I interpret the question in the right way, that you can see in real time, like really, like whenever a scenario is executing and sending a bundle across. I can't promise anything, but I agree it would be really cool. I see Patrick smiling, so I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I mean, we said we want to be playful, right? Let's see. The next question from William. When I first saw the tool, my first thought was to connect the scenarios, meaning that I could use an output from one of the tables popping up to another one. Do you see that coming anytime? Cameron, do you want to take this one?
If I interpret it in the right way, it's exactly going in the direction of what you said before, right? Being able to not only see stuff on the grid, but build stuff from the grid. So if I understood William correctly, it would mean, oh, I see there's an Airtable that I write to, and I now want to take another scenario that reads data from exactly that Airtable, and I want to build that further. And I think, yes, if we manage to make the grid a place where you can build and not only see stuff, then this would be one of the things that should be part of such a solution.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see the question in this direction, because that just is a great guidance for us to stay on the track.
Yes. That really, like, just to emphasize this once more and reiterate, like, your feedback is really crucial for us. So that's why there's this huge feedback button in the product. And we really care a lot about understanding your perspective on the current grid and also what we can do to improve it to bring more value to you. So please use it.
Yep, there's a one, German, you are reading it as well?
Yes, I'm
Or
reading it. You want
no,
to?
I was just, there's one more from Marcel. Is there a feature upload feature to make develop the right features, to help make develop the right features? Not at the moment, but I think that we're talking to really many of you, and we've been talking through the whole process so closely, and we've been working very closely with many customers. And I guess that the moment we have an intuition that something is repeating and it's going in a certain direction, we're exploring. So the best way is just, as German said, click that button. The more often we see the request, that's the way how to upvote at the moment.
But it's actually a good idea. We should think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So I haven't monitored the chat. So if you have further questions, please just feel free to shoot in the Q&A. I think in the chat we answered most that we saw. Oh, stakeholder lenses. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely like to thank everyone for such a nice feedback in the chat as well. Is there
Yes,
some promo material already available to show my management how Make Grid
yeah.
works, I guess?
Yes. So I think the good thing is we're going to provide some follow-up material, I think. So as part of that, we can also make sure we include everything. And in the meantime, there's the grid homepage, which hopefully should help you already now. So, Irina just put it into the chat. Perfect. So
Thank you.
check that out and let us know if you need anything else. And as Patrick said, like, really, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for contributing and actively participating in that session. Was really great to get your thoughts and your feedback, and please keep it coming. We're we're actively working.
I can second that. Thank you so much. And hopefully we will see you soon in a similar session where we can explore a bit more of what's on our journey at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.